Hey everyone, I'm Aaron Potratz.
And I'm Nathan Hawkins.
We are the Shrink Think Podcast.
Baby.
Enjoy the show. All the lights are on, that's good.
Yeah.
The correct lights.
We
I did
have
this
it.
one time where we recorded everything, but the mic was muted, so there was video, but no
No sound.
audio. You couldn't hear anything.
For like, what, 15, 20 minutes?
Oh,
or
at least.
15
yeah.
minutes. Yeah. He looks down and goes, oh,
Whoops.
bink, pushes a button. So it comes on.
That shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. Lame. You might remember if you're there. Where's the camera? You might remember. Where's it? There you are. Right there. Red
Always
light.
trying to find it.
Yeah. All right. Luckily the red light's on.
You ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Okay, so I will do an intro for the podcast, our usual intro, and then I will introduce you. You can say hello, and then I will have you do the tell us about your background, or you can be thinking about how do you want to ask him a first question to get us started.
That's probably tomorrow, right? After you get done reading the Bible.
Yes, that would be
In the background,
in the morning
the
when I'm done
background,
reading the Bible.
the background is when I start telling you about my,
How you became.
how I can.
Yeah, so make sure you form your question.
I will
about that.
form it tremendously.
It will be tremendous. This is going to be so tremendous.
Yes,
Oh,
I
no.
hope so.
Oh, my Lanta.
All right.
Which is the way it is all the time.
I know.
Welcome aboard. All right. Clock, and you can't see the clock, but you want to check on your watch just so you have an idea of what time it is.
I can see the clock there.
You can see. Well, yeah.
How long
Well-
does he need to talk for? That would be a good, how long should he keep this?
We can help you. So
Yeah,
yeah.
overall,
since
I-
you're going to edit it, so I think
Yeah, that's
you
true.
can go as much as
we
you want.
probably
hour.
what we
As much
will.
as you don't want.
There's a couple options. If we get to a place where we can break it for one episode, then we'll break it.
Naturally, as we're talking, there might be a pause or a transition point. We'll have our video editor cut it at that point just to break it up into different segments. But that's not something we really have to worry about while we're recording.
I will look at that clock, and if there's a natural break, I'm going to take it. Do you see what I'm saying? To say thank you for have a great day. That thing is what my point is.
Then we have to start the intro all over again for everything. That's
Okay. We don't have to do
meaning the video. We'll have to redo the video, or just keep that rolling. We'll have to restart the
I see.
audio.
The video really hates us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
It
We'll do
adds
the
more
whole thing.
production.
We'll just keep going
Yeah.
until tomorrow, then.
Until the end. So about an hour.
Yeah, ish.
About an hour. Okay.
That would probably do about 3 episodes.
Okay. You ready?
Do it.
No, take a deep breath.
I found that breathing is good.
All right. Here we go. Hey everyone, welcome to the Shrink Think Podcast. We are especially thrilled, riveted, and excited to be here today because we have a guest speaker. He is traveling from out of town, out of country, a long ways away, specifically to be on the Shrink Think Podcast. He heard about us from Burundi and said, I need to be on these guys' show. So he came out to the United States and found us here in the really tiny place of Tigard, Oregon, and is sitting in front of us to tell us all about what he does. But really, I think he just wants to be in front of us and around our engaging material, our
It is
witty
all about
humor.
us.
It really is. He heard about us and wanted to come to our show. No, just kidding. We are going to introduce Dr. David Niyonzima. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and interview him, and he's going to tell us a lot about what the work he does in mental health and trauma around the world. If this is going to be a great episode, if you are a client and if you are in mental health, if you are going to therapy, even if you don't have trauma, you're just interested in mental health, or if you're a therapist and you are doing this kind of work, this is going to be an extremely valuable episode. Actually, it's probably going to be multiple episodes. So we're going to break this up. We're going to record live and break it up, and let's go ahead and jump in. So let me tell you a bit about Dr. Niyonzima. He is the Vice Chancellor for the International Leadership University since 2016, which is a higher learning institution that develops leaders of integrity for a holistic transformation of society. He got his doctorate in leadership and global perspective from George Fox University here in Oregon in 2013. And on December 23rd, 22, he was awarded the rank of Professor of Leadership by the Academic Promotion Committee of the International Leadership University, Burundi, on the basis of his continued research and publications. In promoting psychosocial approaches to rebuilding communities after atrocities in Burundi and the East African Community member states, he founded Trauma, Healing, and Reconciliation Services, THARS, in 2000 when he was still the General Superintendent and legal representative of the Evangelical Friends Church. As a pastor and professional psychotherapist, he's convinced that dealing with the past is necessary for promoting lasting peace, social and economic resilience, as well as reconciliation. David is passionate about mental health since he earned a master's degree in counseling, also from George Fox in 2002. And along with his practice, he specializes in group therapy, has taught at Hope Africa University's Department of Clinical Psychology. As a practicing psychotherapist, he's also president of the National Platform of Practitioners on Mental Health in Burundi. And as if that wasn't enough, he has published numerous essays and articles on psychosocial healing and peace building, including a book on the Burundi violence, Unlocking Horns, Forgiveness, and Reconciliation in Burundi. In 2022, the International Leadership Foundation awarded him the National Transformational Leadership Award for being a transformational leader. And David currently lives in Bujumbura. I'm getting a lesson on, language here. He's married to Felicity, it's much easier for me to say, and has four grown children and 4 grandkids. So, Dr. Niyonzima, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. I'm very much thrilled to be here. And you mentioned about my country, Burundi. I'm wondering if people know where Burundi is. I suspect that it may be a country that is less known among others in the world. And so I want to tell you where it is.
Yeah.
Burundi is located in Central Africa. That means right in the middle. And that's why they call it the heart of Africa.
What are some of the surrounding countries that people might know, just to position it? I've been to Kenya, South Sudan, so I have some idea.
Yes. Burundi is south of Rwanda. I know people have heard about Rwanda a lot. And the big country of the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is on the west. And then, of course, Tanzania, which is on the east. Then we have also a lake called Lake Tanganyika, the second deepest lake in the world, with a special species of fish called mukeke. Now, when you come to Burundi, don't miss to eat mukeke. It's very unique, very delicious. Well, Burundi is also part of what we call now the East African Community, with member states which are now about 8. They include Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, and Somalia. So 8 countries make up this community, which is very, very unique, and they share a lot of things, kind of building it in a way that they want to have a common exchange of goods and understanding. In fact, they have already what you call the Inter-University Council, in which all higher learning come together to discuss about education and how to advance the development in those 8 countries. It's growing because we heard that even Ethiopia is asking to join. So I'm wondering if they're going to still call it the East Africa, with the countries all over, west, like Congo, and north, like Ethiopia. So that's the geographical location of my country. And I don't know if I can
that's-
continue with.
Well, I've got a question for you. So,
Yes.
Aaron lied like usual. You actually did not come out here all the way just to be on this podcast. What was the reason for you coming out to the States right now?
Also, it's a very long story because I came here because of my friend Sandra Lucas, whom I met 24 years ago here in this country, particularly at George Fox University. So she and I have collaborated and partnered together to advance the mental health in the country. By this I mean that she having a great knowledge of what has happened in the countries of Burundi and Rwanda, she was a perfect fit for me to partner with, so that we learn from one another. And also having been together in class, that was also great for me, opening to be able to relate with her. So she organized my trip here this time, so that I may share with her counselors and friends and the audience that she put together to learn about our approaches or protocols in addressing mental health issues in Burundi. One of them has been in the area of group therapy or community transformation. How do we address collective trauma, for example, in a community? So those themes have been our big things for us to address as she organized the presentations and talk. But also I came here to learn from her and see how she is doing her work. She has a counseling profession or company called Life Counseling. So the two organizations, which means life counseling and trauma healing and reconciliation services, are the two organizations that I would say that are very, very passionate on the trauma healing aspects.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you totally, but kind of, I guess, because you told me to earlier. So I met I met you a long time ago during the in Fox too, because we went. Sandra's actually here in the background. If you're on YouTube, you can't see her.
She doesn't actually exist. She's a figment of all of our imagination, really.
But she's staring at me with
It's very powerful.
razor eyes right now. Okay. Anyway, we all kind of went to school together, but I made the mistake of just going to school and leaving. I didn't really socialize very much. But I was in some classes with David, so kind of knew who he was, although I've gotten bigger and he's gotten grayer. So that's kind of the situation. But if we back up a little bit, it would be interesting to know how you decided to come to here and to even get into mental health counseling in the first place, because I think that part of your story is super interesting.
Ooh, yes. It's kind of a long story, but let me share with you about it. Burundi and Rwanda are kind of peculiar countries because they have a certain ethnic groups that really don't match as you want to define what you mean by ethnicity. So in Burundi in particular, we have a group of people called Hutus and Tutsis and Twas. These three ethnic groups, they live together, but if you go as early as the colonial time, you can see that they may look very, very different, and they are not united as you would want to imagine as tribes living in one country. What really happened is that Burundi was first the colonial property, I would say, was colonized by Germans. Then later on, it was handed over to the Belgians. And the Belgians in particular are the ones who are blamed to have divided these three ethnic groups, particularly the two ones, the Hutus and the Tutsis. Now, the Tutsis were given privileges over the Hutus, and the Hutus were left like that, even though they also wanted to get power and privileges just like any other citizen. But it was not so because the Belgians used this mentality or philosophy of divide and reign or rule. So for the case of Burundi, they came over and said, okay, if you have cows, you are Tutsis. You are a Tutsi. Those who are farmers, they are Hutus. Now you can imagine that this was kind of an artificial division. Why? Because I don't think they got any other basis to divide us, because we all speak the same language. We all live together. There's a lot of intermarriage. There's a lot of sharing of culture. So which means it was kind of, I think even they had hard time to make sure they were totally divided. But with this offer of power to one ethnic group, for Burundi, it was a case that they offered the power to the Tutsis. Then that was a big divide, because you can see leaders are distinguished from the followers or non-leaders, and so it was very, very hard. But the issue that I want to mention here is that division caused violence, because those who wanted power had to fight for it, and then also there were similar things happening in the neighboring country north in Rwanda, where they did the opposite. Like for example, in 1959, they turned the power to the Hutus. Now, all these two countries have been ruled by Tutsi kings, okay? But when they came in, they decided that for Rwanda, power had to change from Tutsi to Hutu, and they did it in 1959. And this is how you heard about the Tutsis having fled into other countries, only to come back in the early 90s. So for Burundi, a country south of Rwanda, speaking the same language, they of course observed and heard and saw what was happening, and they said, okay, now that the Belgians are turning this from Tutsi to Hutu, we better be careful and cling to power as much as we can, so that we don't fall in the trap of the happenings in Rwanda. So for Burundi then, even though we got that independence in 1962 from the Belgians, there were all these tensions and hatred, cooking and brewing under the surface. But it was not until 1972 when our first Hutu genocide took place in Burundi. Now, when I talk about genocide, it simply means that the government was involved in trying to eliminate one ethnic group, and for this case, they wanted to eliminate Hutus, because we saw, and I was 11 years old, we saw that every Tutsi, every Hutu who was educated, who had wealth, who was visible, to the point of having a good house, like if you had a tin sheet house as opposed to the thatched house, then you will consider as a person who has money and you will be killed. So that is what happened. And again, I want to mention that Burundi is one of the poorest countries in the world. Actually, this year they named it as #1 poorest country. That simply means that there are very few commodities, very few schools, very few infrastructure, and very few educated people. So at 11 years old, I remember my brother was sent to school further away from home because there was no closer school at that time, and he never came back. Why? Because the Tutsi troops and the Tutsi leaders targeted everybody whom they thought was a potential threat to the leadership. Anybody that they thought would come afterwards and threaten the leadership, they would just say, no, 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 you have no right to leave. So the death of my brother at 11 years old was very, very devastating to me. In fact, my father and my whole family was very, very, very touched and affected by the death. So it was not only on my family, but the whole country. In fact, if you hear about refugees that have gone to Tanzania, and the neighboring countries like Uganda and Rwanda, particularly in Tanzania, there were so many, and there were so many refugee camps in Uriankuru, Buyovozi. You can name like 5 big refugee camps in Tanzania. They were all established in 1972. Yes, so that's what happened for the first genocide in Burundi, which caused a lot of hurt and trauma and wounds and hatred between the two ethnic groups.
Yeah, let me pause you for a second. So, kind of in summary, which is going to probably it's going to definitely oversimplify it, but 3 tribes are in the same country, speaking the same language: the Tutsis, the Hutus, and the Twas. Is that?
Yes.
So, and everybody's basically getting along, it sounds like, and then the Belgians decided that they were going to divide people essentially socioeconomically.
This is like that study I remember in, was it grad school or undergrad, where it's like, oh, if you have blonde hair, you're better than the people, or blonde or blue eyes, you're better than the kids who have brown eyes. And it's like just some artificial thing where it's like, now you're better than everybody else.
Right. And so this spread over to even neighboring countries. And in the United States, if you're a lot of our audience probably is more familiar with Rwanda, obviously, because of the movie that came out. Was that Hotel Rwanda?
Hotel Rwanda,
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, so basically, this just kind of just works as a tea kettle of boiling, like pressure over a course of time.
Yes.
And then violence erupts, and then the Hutus essentially are focused on to get eliminated. Mm-hmm. The entire and that group of people is basically a Hutu according to the stuff that the wealth that they have in the education. Is that kind of it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Jiminy Christmas,
which is crazy because they're just trying to survive, right? They're surviving and trying to do the best for themselves and their family,
right.
And then
because
it's like,
everybody does that.
Because everybody, you're right, and it's poor, and they're like, hey, we're actually doing okay, and then it's like, let's take out those people.
And so, for your experience at 11 years old, your brother left to go to school because you couldn't go to school where you were at. And he was likely targeted, it sounds like, you didn't really say that, but it sounds like because of the fact of the implication of him becoming maybe more educated or something and then becoming a threat to the leadership. Mm-hmm. And then we enter in you growing up, and I imagine, well, dealing with all of that, all the violence around you, how did you transition your mind? Like, what occurred to you, or how did you learn about this whole idea of mental health and how that whole thing works? I mean,
yes, I think I will have to continue the story because it didn't stop there, because now we are in 1972. But then, but then
I wasn't even born yet.
You
were born the next year.
I got 4 more years before I'm a baby.
Yeah, because now we get in the 90s when. France, in particular, comes in the picture and says, all these countries in Africa, they are all ruled through a military dictatorship. If they want to continue to receive our aid, they have to change into democracy. So he's basically saying, change from military dictatorship or else you don't get the aid, because now these are poor countries. They kind of live from the aid that comes from Western countries. And of course, at this time, this Tutsi military dictator, Buyoya, says, wow, I cannot miss getting that aid. I will change easily because I know I'm trying to do everything that Burundians would like, and therefore I have to let me comply. Mm-hmm. Now, remember, in Burundi, over 80% is Hutu. Now 10-ish%, because we have to accommodate also the Twas, they are Tutsis. So the minority is now in power, including him.